Let's take a break. Let's take a break from all this. Take a look at that. I thought this would just be a good way to talk about what is next in 2024. What's next in general for me? And I hope that this helps some of you guys out, like seeing my thought process, I guess, on how I do this. I do this a lot with these videos. I want to let you guys see behind the curtain and hope that you get something out of it so it can help you with your career. So I thought that this looked really, really cool and wanted to give it a shot. This is the SPL Vitalizer Mark III. This is the brand new one. And it's very intriguing to me. I'm very curious about this bass sound, like tight to soft. There's a single knob bass modulation on it. And then there's an EQ, and then there's a stereo expander, a width, which I'm assuming is similar to the SPL Big, which I'm a massive fan of. And then there's also some saturation built in, some drive from a tube. So if I end up loving this, and if it ends up showing up on records, you'll see a video on it. And if I don't put it on records, you won't see a video of it. 2024. Now I do this at the beginning of every year. And what I do is I write down the goals for the year. Now, these could be gear goals. These could be construction goals. These could be career goals. These could be personal networking goals. They could be musical goals. They could be technical goals. Like I go pretty hard on this stuff. And I find that it's a really good way to hold yourself accountable throughout the year because it's really easy to get sidetracked. Let's be honest. If you're attempting to do this thing for a living, you're probably not the most even-keeled, stable, focused person. Like, I have a really hard work ethic, but I also have some ADD where I'm like, squirrel. And so it's just, I find that for me, it's really helpful to have these things actually written down. And here's how I decide what I need to focus on next. Let's talk about gear first because it's kind of the easiest to explain this principle and my thought process. How do I decide what piece of gear is next? Well, the first thing that I do is I zoom out and take a look at my total, like every single thing that I do musically. And then I try to find the weakest link. What is the thing or lack of a thing that's holding me back the most? What is the absolute, and at first it was just like some mix bus stuff, like some preamps on my mix bus or a mix bus compressor. And that was holding me back the most because a mix bus compressor is something that the whole mix goes through. So it has the biggest impact. A mix bus compressor has a way more impact on your mixes than a kick drum compressor. And then once I acquired that, then what was the next thing that was holding me back the most, or that would make the biggest impact in what I'm doing? And that next thing was a vocal compressor. And for me personally, I think compression is still the weakest link in plugins. EQ is getting really, really good, but compressors they're just not there yet. And so I personally, it's not for everyone because there's some fantastic work being done in the box, but for me personally, I need a mix bus compressor, a lead vocal compressor, a kick and a snare drum compressor, and a drum bus compressor. And I need those things as a minimum quantity of compressors to get the sound that's in my head out of the speakers. But they kind of go in that level of importance to me. Mix bus compressor, vocal compressor, or drum bus compressor. They're kind of interchangeable. And then kick and snare drum compressors. Now, that's not to say that this needs to be your list. You need to figure out what will make the biggest impact on what you are doing. Now, at this point, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of gear. And it's because I've spent 21 years collecting and spending money on gear. So the next thing for me gear-wise, well, getting this room done and getting the Atmos rig in and whatnot, but the next thing gear-wise for me, I really feel like a mix bus EQ, or a mastering EQ to be more specific. That's the thing that's going to make the next biggest impact on what I do. And so that's my gear goal for this year. And it'll be probably one of the most expensive pieces of gear I've ever gotten. I'm kind of leaning towards the SPL PQ. There's a couple others that I'm looking at, but the expensive pieces of gear, whether you're going with the curve bender or the Manly, or like they're all really expensive. So to me, how I do this is I decide this is the next piece of gear that I want. And then I do whatever it takes, budget however I need to. If I need to skip that Starbucks once a week or once a day, like some of us do, I find the little things that will allow me to save up enough money to get that thing. And I make those sacrifices. Maybe you just stop going out to eat. Bring your lunch to the studio or to work, 2 or 3 days a week rather than eating out every day. Or we all have ways that we could cut some of that out. Combine trips when you go shopping and whatever, so you're using less gas. Turn your thermostat on your house down 2 degrees and put on a sweatshirt, because that'll save you $100 a month in power. There's a lot of different ways that we can all pull little pieces of money from everywhere, and that can add up over a year to be enough to buy a really important thing for our careers. Now, for you, it may not be gear. Maybe it's acoustic treatment for you, because I think acoustic treatment is one of the most singularly important things that we use in our studios. If you don't have at least your first reflection points taken care of with some broadband acoustic treatment, not foam, then that should be, in my opinion, the very top priority for you and your studio. But let's dig a little further in, because gear is easy. Gear is easy to explain this thought process. Let's dig further in musically. What do I want to accomplish? Well, there's kind of two sides to this. There's the technical and creative side of music, and then there's the business side of music. Let's start with the business side, because that's easier. To me, I have very specific goals for the type of music, status-wise, I guess, level-wise, that I want to work on and that I want to achieve. And there are particular people that I need to make connections with in order to have a shot of making that happen. So I know where I want to go in music business, and I start making a list of the people that I need to make connections with in order to get there. And then I will spend 2024 trying to cultivate those relationships, not asking them for anything, not begging them to hire me, just trying to cultivate those relationships in whatever way that I can. So that way, hopefully one day, these people will see me as a viable option to hire me. So that's the business side. Now on the musical side, to me, and I think that should probably be the same goal for all of us if you're trying to do this for a living on the business side. Make a list of the specific artists or the specific bands or the specific managers or record labels or whatever. Make a list of those people and then spend the next year trying to figure out how to cultivate a relationship with them. You don't even got to ask them for anything. Just make a relationship with them. On the musical side of things, for me personally, there's a couple things. One of the things that I'm personally going to be focusing on really hard this year is, and I don't really know how to put it into words, it's that last 2 or 3% of polish that my favorite mixers and producers and mastering engineers have. That is I'm still not there yet. Like when I listen to mixes by some of my favorite guys like Jeff Giuliano or Jeff Braun or Justin Niebank or Serbin or there's so many of these great guys, and I listen to them and they just have this level of polish to them, and I need to work on that. I personally need to focus this year on upping that professionalism, that flawlessness. Now, I don't mean flawlessness as in tuning every vocal like T-Pain. I mean flawlessness as in there are 0 things I would like to change about the mix. There are 0 elements in the mix that's lacking that I think need to be improved. That's going to be my musical goal for this year, for the most part. Now, on the producing side of things, it's just going to be continuing to get better at coaching emotional performances out of artists and musicians while still maintaining technical proficiency. I just want to keep getting better at that. That's been a long-standing goal for many years for me now, is how do I get the singer to sing it better and more emotionally engaged? How do I get them to convey the maximum amount of emotion while getting them to sing it technically the best? That will be my musical goals. So my thought behind this video is just explaining my thought process and how I look at every year and writing all of these things down so that way I can constantly reference it, because it's so easy for me anyway to get sidetracked. I want to master, the gear is the easiest thing it's the most tangible thing to explain and use in these examples. So I'm going to keep going back to the gear. I want a mastering EQ. So how do I get it? Now, there's a lot of other gear that will probably happen on the way to this mastering EQ. There's a lot of other things that need to happen on the way there. But I'm going to keep coming back to that. That's what I want this year. And how do I make that happen? So also, let's just be honest, I want to finish this. This has got to get done quickly. I'm on the home stretch, and there will be a full video coming on this. So make sure you subscribe. And anytime you need any piece of gear, hit the links down below on any one of my videos. If you click on any link on any one of my videos, purchase anything you need. It goes a long ways to help support me and help me keep making videos like this. Those links go to Sweetwater. So Sweetwater, thank you for sponsoring today's video. So it costs you nothing extra to do this. Just anytime you need any piece of musical gear, cables, microphones, rack gear, racks, studio furniture, literally anything. It costs you nothing extra to just hop on one of my videos, click on one of the links, and then purchase anything that you were gonna purchase already anyway. And it is a massive support to this channel and to me personally. So thank you for doing that. I hope that this helped you guys. I want you to have an incredible 2024. I'm very optimistic about 2024. 2023 was a lot of ups and downs for me. And 2024, we're gonna make up for it. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you for following along, and I hope these videos help you. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.